Hey guys, Mr. Russell here, and I am super excited about this week's video because honestly, it's something that Mr. Russell would design himself. And so what we're gonna do is last week we took a bulldog with some really cute sunglasses and we put the name of our school across that bulldog, across those sunglasses. We are going to do the same thing this week. All the strategies that we did last week, we're going to do this week. Before we get into this, I want to tell you just how proud I am of you guys. You have come so far. This program called VECTORNATOR is not your doodling program it's just not a drawing program. And there have been so many of you guys who kind of started off saying, hey, can I use this doodling program over here? And I've said, I'm sorry, no, we're here to learn VECTORNATOR. And you guys have picked it up, you've ran with it. And I'm really proud of you guys for how far you've come so far. You're working with a software that uses layers, uses nodes. So many of you guys have just picked up the creative nature of this and worked with it. And for those of you who aren't super creative, I'm even more proud of you because you've been following the skills checkoff list and you've just been doing so well. Before we get started, I do want to share, maybe some of you have seen me talk about this before. It's in a little adapter, yeah, this is an adapter that I ordered on Amazon, and what it is it has a USB on one side and a lightning for powering your device, and then of course this side plugs into your iPad. It also plugs into your iPhone, and so and I think they call this a camera adapter. I've been using it to help me with my VECTORNATOR designs, and so I'm just going to plug this into my iPad. And I have a little mouse here, and you can see it's one of those little optical mouse. It's wired, and you can find these mice super cheap. I've been known to go get 5 or 6 of these from a thrift store for $3 each, and they're just really helpful. If you can't afford an Apple Pencil, then they're really helpful. Another thing that's really helpful, and I don't have it with me, is just a passive little stylus, which you can get over at the Dollar Tree. All right, let's not spend too much more time talking about this stuff, but let's dive into it. So this week, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking our school name, and we're going to be putting it onto this California flag surfing bear. And then we're going to be doing, again, another text path, and then we're going to be working with, we're going to try to make it look like the text sort of look like the California flag. And you'll notice that my surfing bear is surfing a longboard because no respectable surfing bear would be caught dead riding a shortboard. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and let's dive in to our work. Okay. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start with my layers because it's all about the layers, right? So I'm going to add a few layers here just to make sure I'm safe. And I'm going to lock up my my California surfing bear. Now, Mr. Russell's going to send you 2 templates. I'm going to send you a VECTORNATOR template, and I'm going to send you an SVG, which they're kind of, by now you might know, they're kind of one and the same, okay? But let's work with this. Okay, so we have our surfing bear. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to bring in some text. And the text, and you'll see this text as well. The text will simply be Rincon. There we go. And let me change my color and my fill, and I'm going to make it white because I want this to be able to be seen. And then my font is going to be, actually, I'm going to work with, I think I have one called Impact. Yep, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to work with Impact. The reason we worked with Impact is it's super bold and it's just in your face. And then I'm going to bring it down here. And I'm going to change my opacity really quick. Click click on my layers and see what the dealio is there. Why is it not? It's probably, yep, 85 point kerning. Fit balance to text. Oh, there it is. Opacity is 42%. We should probably bring that up. There we go. Cool. Now, the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to create I'm going to go to my path menu, which is right there. And I'm going to come down here and I'm going to create outlines from text. Now, I just want to take a minute and make sure that you understand from this point forward, this used to be something that Mr. Russell struggled with. I had for a long time this year. A lot of students were telling me, "Hey, what's going on? Why is it when I export my text that it acts really funky?" This is our solution. So you want to make sure that anytime you're using VECTORNATOR, it's VECTORNATOR. Anyway, so it's getting late here. Anytime you're using VECTORNATOR, you're creating vector shapes, okay? And when you input text into your product here, what you really want to be doing is you really want to make sure that you're turning that text into vector shapes. And the way that we do that is we create outlines from text, okay? So this week, what we're going to do, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take the shape of our school name, and we're going to sort of conform it to the California Surfing Bear. And I want to encourage you to enjoy this, but let's get into it. So I'm going to start with the R here, and you're going to see that one thing I want to tell you about R's, they are tricky letters. You'll be thinking that you're looking at an R and you'll select it, and sometimes you can go click on that node tool over there on the left that's under the selection tool, but sometimes when you go and you have the R selected, and let me go over here and do this again. I'll select all of the R, and then I'll click on the node tool. And sometimes that when I've selected the whole R, that node tool does not want to pick up and does not want to turn on. You'll notice that right now I'm trying to select the whole R, and that node tool is not turning on. It took me a little while to figure this out. What's really going on is, and I'm going to zoom in here, is, excuse me, is that the reason the node tool isn't turning on is because you have two different vector shapes being selected. You have the outside of the R, and then you have that little D that sits kind of like right here, okay? So you'll notice that I can select, if I select, let me click on this again. I'm going to click on my canvas. I'm going to touch my R and just the outside of the R. And then I'm going to click on my node tool. And now I have access to the nodes, which is really cool, which is really what I want to do. And I'm going to go ahead and start working with this R and getting it conformed into the head of this animal, okay? Now, this is most certainly a very sort of complicated task this week that I'm giving you. And so I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing. So I'm going to take a minute and I'm just going to kind of draw it out kind of quickly like, okay? I forgot to tell you one more thing. I'm going to work with the opacity because I want to be able to, I'm going to turn my opacity down on my letters because I want to be able to, I still want to have a ridge around the bear, but I also, and I want my letters to be inside the bear, but I also want to be able to see what's behind my letters, what's behind my vector shapes. And so I'm going to change the opacity of that shape until I get it just the way I like it. And then I'll turn the opacity all the way back up to 100. All right, let's dive back into this. All right, so the R is done, and it's not totally, to be honest with you, like whenever I'm recording these videos, oftentimes I will not make the videos, like the artwork is not, like it would take me a long time to get this R exactly the way I would want it be if I was wearing it on a t-shirt for myself. But you don't want to watch Mr. Russell draw for that long. Let's move on to the eye next, okay? All right, that eye was super easy. Now we're gonna work into the N. Gonna be a little tougher. I'm gonna try to get the different parts of that N to go into the left front leg and that middle leg of the bear. And then, so I'm gonna have to move some things around, but let's go for the N next, okay? All right, that N took a little while, but I kind of like the way it is. Probably gonna tweak it a little bit more before I call it good for a t-shirt, but for the sake of our time here, I'm gonna bring the opacity back all the way up. And what comes after N but a C? All right, let's work with that C next. Before I get started, let me tell you that C is one very complicated fellow. Look at how many nodes that C has. I'm gonna end up having to delete probably 70% of those nodes as I go through this. So don't be afraid. Sometimes too many nodes can really complicate things. So what I'm gonna do first is I'm gonna get the C just about the same size I want it to be, and then I'm gonna start deleting nodes because there's just too many nodes there. I can't handle that many nodes. All right, so let's get started. That was a terrible clap. Let's try this again. Can I even clap? Come on. All right, here we go. Less is more. All right, so the C's not quite the way I want it, but I'm gonna have to squeeze an O and then a final N in there. Let's see how this looks. Bear with me. All right, so that O is really pushing Artistic's license, and we'll see. We won't really totally know until we get that final letter in as to just how good it looks. And so you'll have an opportunity to kind of change this and tweak it and make it your own. So I'm kind of curious if, oops, Command Z. I'm kind of curious if I can take some of the work that I did earlier with the first N and duplicate it rather than having to rewrite the N. And I think that's what I'm gonna do. That's one of the time-saving things that I've kind of learned through all of this. And now that I'm looking at the first N and realizing that the first N uses a front foot and a back foot. I think I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna tweak my O just a little bit to make it, to let that in kind of sweep in there, and to maybe try to make that O look a little bit more natural. Forgive me, I'm gonna take a minute and try to fix something. All right, so I think I've got the O at a place where I want it. Now I'm gonna come over and I'm gonna make sure my opacity goes back up on that O, and I'm gonna come over and I'm gonna snag that in. I'm gonna go Command C for copy, and then I'm gonna go Command V for paste, and nope, not searching. Let's get rid of that for a second. And then let's bring this bad boy over here. Oop, Command Z. Let's go to my selection tool, and let's see if snagging this, making a copy of that in, saves us any time. All right, here we go. All right, so I'm pretty happy with how that looks. It did occur to me, I need to make sure that I am very transparent with you guys about where my inspiration for this design came from. This design was not at all anything that I just came up with on my own. I used to volunteer with an organization called Young Life, and within Young Life, because I'm a middle school teacher, they have a section called Wildlife. And one of my most favorite t-shirts was this wildlife t-shirt of a California surfing bear with the letters wildlife in there. And so that's where I'm kind of coming up with this idea. Really cool organization. If you have a chance to look it out, check it out. It is a faith-based organization, but they do a lot of really cool things. So we're gonna go ahead and we're going to create, I've already thrown several layers in there. So I'm gonna start with layer number 1, and I'm gonna call this layer, middle school. And of course here we go. And then I'm gonna make this layer 3 that I already put in there. I'm gonna make that called Rincon, okay? And then I'm gonna make sure that I lock up all the work we did in those regards. Now let me make sure that okay, it looks like layer 4, I need to name that, is we're gonna call that the Rincon Bear. Okay, Rincon Bear. All right, cool. I'm gonna lock that up because I don't want any of that hard work that we put in getting messed with. But I certainly do want to go down here to middle school. And I'm not totally sure that I know exactly what the font name is for our flag. And I'm certainly not going to take the time here to lengthen this video anymore, but let me choose I'm going to make my text there. I'm going to say middle, oops. I'm going to go back here. Come on now. There we go. Middle school. Now, I am gonna go all caps. Or do I want to go all caps? Let me see what we got here. Let's see how that looks. I'm gonna let you choose whatever. I chose to use impact for mine, but you can do whatever you want. And then of course, I'm gonna come over here, and that's middle school, and I'm gonna lock that up. All right. Well, I want to thank you guys for hanging in there with me on this. Again, super proud of the improvement you guys have made. You guys have come so far. You've learned so much, and I tell you what, don't hesitate to try to take some of this creativity you've learned and apply it to your other classes. There's a lot of times where your teacher will give you something and you'll be able to apply what you know here to that assignment, and it's only going to help you more. All right. Well, that's it for this week's lesson. I want to thank you for watching, and God bless. Mr. Russell's out.